Previously on the Skip and Josh Sports Show.
When they tell you turn off your cell phone, turn off your laptops, everything when
Yeah,
you go on
none of
regular
that.
commercial
None of
flights,
that.
which I do a lot. And I'm always like, how do they know? Come on, it's nonsense. Like, can a cell phone, like, is it going to cause that much trouble, like, for the pilot?
No.
And then, of course, you're on a plane with 40 people with their phones on and their laptops open.
Yeah, that's the thing too. The first time I was there, I was waiting for all the announcements, and all of a sudden we're in the air. I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
That's great.
You're listening to the Skip and Josh Sports Show.
Skip.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I feel like we haven't talked in ages.
We haven't really talked in a while, and with tomorrow being the Super Bowl, we wanted to do a special episode this week. And so we've got two experts on the line, two guests. One is our Atlanta correspondent, Mike, who's been on with us before, and another one is our Boston correspondent, Neil, who's never been on with us. Neil, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Great to be here.
We're very happy to have both these guys. Both of them. Neil's a big Patriots fan, and Mike's a big Falcons fan. So I guess let's get started. Neil, the Patriots had the best record in the NFL this season once again. They didn't lose any games on the road, and yet the team keeps getting older and they keep fighting through injuries. And basically, you could almost say that they're, other than Tom Brady, they don't have many big names. So can you explain how the Patriots were able to have such a good season this year?
Well, I think their defense has been really underrated. You really have defensive players who've started to step up, and that was really key in the first 4 games of the season while Brady was on suspension. And then offensively, you still have your old reliables where you've got your Edelman still had a great year, multifaceted running attack with LeGarrette Blount, who led the league in touchdowns. And offensive line really came around this year as well. Was very, very solid after struggling a little bit. Dante Scarnecchia, who's the offensive line coach, came back and has really done a hell of a job with the Patriots this year. Marcus Cannon at right tackles had a great year. So, and coaching's always great, and I think there's just a culture of winning.
So, Book, you have a lot to live up to. Neil seems to really be and really know the Patriots inside and out.
See, yeah, sounds like it. I'll say this from a Falcons standpoint. Obviously, they don't get a lot of love. They're in the South, right? So they don't get a lot of coverage nationally like the Patriots. So other than Julio Jones and Matt Ryan, we ask someone to name another Falcon. Good luck with that. Maybe Dante Freeman. But this year, again. So I'm going to talk about the defense. I know the offense gets a lot of love.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. Like, is the D for real? That's one of the questions I had written down.
So the D is young. But they are fast and they're good. Again, they are out of that Seattle mold. I mean, obviously, the coach comes from Seattle, Dan Quinn, and so he's brought that mentality to Atlanta. And so they got a lot of fast, young guys that are learning the game quickly, like Deion Jones and Keanu Neal. That guy, he would run through a house. Like, that kid's unbelievable. So their defense is coming along. Again, as long as they can put pressure on Brady, which I know is difficult to do, but they did it to Aaron Rodgers, who was the hottest quarterback in the league 2 weeks ago. And then they faced, Seattle as well. Russell Wilson, they got him pressured a lot. So if they do the same thing to Brady, they'll be in the ballgame. That's for sure.
So, Neil, you had touched on the Patriots defense, which maybe goes a little bit unnoticed. I didn't even realize myself till a couple of weeks ago that the Patriots had given up the fewest points in the league. But when you think of the Patriots, you don't think of them as one of the top defenses. You might think of Seattle or Kansas City or maybe even Arizona a couple of years ago. So with Bill Belichick having 2 weeks to prepare for this game, a lot of experts say that when the Patriots have a bye week and they have extra time to prepare, is that the key that Bill Belichick's been focusing on, how to stop the Falcons' vaunted offense? And if so, what do you think the Patriots can do to stop that?
Yeah, well, I think what they're probably going to do is try and play their second cornerback, whether it be Eric Rowe or Logan Ryan, on Julio Jones and give him some safety help over the top. And then single cover Malcolm Butler potentially on Mohamed Sanu. I think the real key though is the pass rush for the Patriots. We always hear about Tom Brady is not as effective when he gets pressured by a four-man rush. I think the same goes for Matt Ryan. And now it's not easy to get home with pressure with a four-man rush, but I think if they could move Trey Flowers inside, if they can win first down, guys like Alan Branch can stop the running game a little bit, move Trey Flowers inside with the pass rush, then get Chris Long, Rob Ninkovich rushing outside with Hightower blitzing. I really think if they could win second and third down, maybe get the Falcons off the field 2 or 3 times for some punts. And really, that'll be the key to this game because both teams are going to score.
So, Book, to get away from a little bit of the X's and O's and talk a little bit more about what's going on in Atlanta, all week we've been exchanging these emails, and all you're talking about is Rise Up and the Brotherhood. And to be honest, I don't even know what the hell that is.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Atlanta gets no love. So,
like, outside of Atlanta, I don't think anybody knows. I watched NFL Network last night, and I heard one of the guys say something about the Brotherhood. And I was like, oh, God, okay. Someone else knows about this. So, like, what's going on there?
So that's the motto that coach has been preaching in the locker room. It's a brotherhood, right? Everyone kind of picks each other up. It's a team. And I think the city's kind of bought into it. And the city's way behind this team. It's unbelievable. Like I said, I've been here 17 years. I've never seen anything like it. Because Atlanta fans are usually pretty apathetic. But since this playoff run in the Super Bowl, it's been unbelievable. So Rise Up is another like little catchphrase that's caught fire yesterday was all these schools, all these kids were wearing Falcons gear it was basically Falcons Day. One of the schools, so Arthur Blank, funny story, Arthur Blank's daughter goes to a private school in Atlanta. He donated $20 million apparently to build an auditorium. So he convinced the school, because his daughter goes there, to close Monday. So they have no school on Monday as a result. As a result of the Falcons being in the Super Bowl. It's been pretty exciting over here. Obviously, all the other schools want to close too, but that's not happening.
So win or lose, the kids win. Yeah, win or lose, the kids get a day off.
At least at that school, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, it's been super exciting. I'm super excited. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. It should be a fun game. The offense has scored on opening drives for the past 8 games. If they could do it at 9, I'm guaranteeing a W right here. You heard it here first.
God. Oh, my God.
So, Neil, you're not just a big Patriots fan, and obviously you know a lot about the team, but you also lived in Boston for 9 years. So how often did you get to go to games, and what's the atmosphere like, on game day in New England?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of an underrated stadium. I did get to go a few times. Favorite game I went to was in the 2003 season. I guess it was early 2004. The Patriots played Peyton Manning and the Colts in the playoffs and won 20-3. It was, I think, the highest scoring offense in the Manning era at that time. Ty Law had a bunch of interceptions. Teddy Bruschi stole the ball away. I probably went to Foxborough, I'd say, between 6 to 8 times. I had a good friend there named Zach, who I went to law school with, who his family had season tickets, so I went with him a couple times to the games. Atmosphere is really good. The crowd gets loud. Fans are certainly into it. Patriots are the hottest team in town. I haven't been there in a few years. Haven't lived there in a few years, but certainly it's really a Pats town, and a huge sports town. So yeah, people are talking about it. I think everyone's really excited. All my friends in Boston are geared up for the game, and I certainly am here as well.
Yeah, actually, I heard an interview with Bob Ryan this week, and he said that, as we know, like pre-2003, it wasn't the Patriots' town at all, and the Patriots basically have overtaken everybody. And he says they're like 1A and 1B with the Red Sox now, so it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think there's obviously an expectation of wins with the Patriots these days, but certainly the fans have bought into it, and it's created a great atmosphere. I think also with the Brady suspension and with Deflategate and Spygate, I think there's an us against them mentality with Patriots fans. So I think that's really caused a passion within Boston, and Bostonians are passionate people as it is. But I think now that they see, the world, the country is against them, I really feel that they become even more passionate for the Patriots. And you saw that in the AFC Championship game with their chants taunting Roger Goodell.
Right. Oh my God. It's. I mean, the Patriots, not just the fans, the New England media really went after Goodell at his press conference. So
Absolutely, and even Bob Kraft, when accepting the trophy, the Lamar Hunt Trophy, was calling out Goodell as well, sort of in a subtle way, but was talking about how the Patriots were wronged and that sort of thing.
right. So, Book, I wanted to ask you. I mean, you mentioned this is the biggest hype the Falcons have had in the 17 years you've been living in Atlanta, and I was thinking about, like, other than the Olympics, which is not an Atlanta sports team, it's just an event that happened in Atlanta. Like, what is the biggest sports thing that's happened in Atlanta ever? Like, obviously if the Falcons win, it's number one, right? And then maybe I guess after that it's the 95 Braves. But after that, like, there's no list. Like, there's nothing else.
Correct. And I think that's why people are so excited for tomorrow.
Right.
It's an opportunity for them to be world champions in the NFL. So, yes, because, again, since I've lived here, certainly the Thrashers did nothing. They didn't last long enough to do anything.
Right.
The Braves, when I got here, the Braves were still in their run, but towards the tail end. And the Falcons, again, they've won, but nothing substantial till really right now. So,
right. I mean, I don't think people remember that Dirty Bird team. It wasn't even a great team, to be honest. They just got on a run at the end of the year and made it to the Super Bowl. And I mean, other than that, I was trying to think of, like, what other Atlanta sports teams, like, you can remember. And it's like, I guess the next thing is, like, the Atlanta Hawks with Dominique Wilkins, but they never even did anything.
No, exactly.
Right. The most memorable thing about the Hawks actually is the game with Dominique Wilkins and Larry Bird when they went, like, toe to toe.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not even a Hawks thing.
Yeah.
Right, and they lost that game too.
That's right. I mean, and then I was really trying to think of, like, what else, and, like, other than that, maybe college sports, like Georgia Tech had some good basketball teams, but, like, again, they never won the championship. But, like, certainly they had some great teams with Mark Price, Kenny Anderson, like, but
the Georgia Bulldogs winning the national championship in 1980.
Well, they're, but I mean, you're going back. Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly right. That's exactly it. Well, no, in 2012, obviously, when the Falcons made it to the NFC Championship game, but obviously didn't win that one and lost to the Niners. But
yeah,
again, other than that, that's been it.
They had the Niners dead in that game.
They did.
Yeah.
And I will say, again, totally different team this time than last time.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And Boston's almost the exact opposite, because all their teams have had success, and certainly in the last decade. So there's certainly been a lot to cheer about. Neil, in your 9 years there, do you know the total number of championships between football, baseball, basketball, and hockey?
I can count it out. So we had two Red Sox. I think it was 04 and 07 when I was there. I think there was 3 Patriots championships. We had 1 basketball in 2008, and the Bruins, who I don't care about anyway, won when I was back in Montreal. So,
wow.
But I don't cheer for the Bruins. It's really every other team. But
certainly...
even on top of that, if you look at, like, Boston College Hockey's won some championships. Yeah. Actually, BC with Matt Ryan when I was there was up to number 2 in the country. So really, it's been an amazing run for Boston in terms of in terms of sports.
Didn't they have a soccer championship as well? Not the college team, but the pro team.
Yeah, they lost like 4. I think recently they did. When I was there, they had lost. They were like the Buffalo Bills of MLS. I think they lost 3 or 4 in a row. The New England Revolution.
So, Neil, let's get your prediction for the game. Not just the score, but how you think it's going to unfold.
I think the Patriots running backs are going to be a real key to this game. Establish the run. The Falcons really struggled on run defense, 29th in DVOA, Football Outsiders metric against the run, and I really think they'll try and keep Matt Ryan off the field. Falcons will get theirs, but I think the Patriots will win the game 31-28 with a big game from LeGarrette Blount.
There you have it.
And Book, what do you think?
All right, so clearly I'm going to go the opposite route, but the running backs will play a big part for sure. And again, I think the Falcons D will put some pressure on Brady. So I'm going to be a homer, just like Schnorrs was with the Patriots, but I'm going to say Falcons win 27-24, and Matt Ryan is MVP of the league and the Super Bowl.
There you have it.
All right. Well, thanks to both our guests. Certainly this was a nice treat for us to have both of you on at the same time. And we'll be watching, and then we've recorded this, so we'll see whose predictions become more accurate. Hopefully both of you are going to attend some Super Bowl parties wherever you happen to be. Eat a lot of pizza, wings, whatever you like, and participate in some Super Bowl pools. So thanks, Neil, and thanks, Mike. Enjoy the weekend.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's
you
been a
guys
pleasure,
as well.
guys.
Thanks,
For
guys.
having us. Rise up, baby. Rise up.
Go Pats.
The Skip and Josh Sports Show. They don't take your calls.
So, Cub, I wanted to just continue the Super Bowl conversation before we move on to sort of the rest of the sports world.
Absolutely.
I mean, anybody that's listened to our show so far, I can't believe this is episode 20. Can you imagine?
Wow.
20.
I didn't realize that either.
Anybody who's listened to the previous episodes knows that, you hate the Patriots. So clearly you're going to be cheering for the Falcons along with Mike.
I will be rooting for the Falcons. I mean, if I had to wager on the game, I'd pick the Patriots because it's foolish to go against them.
Yeah.
But I will be rooting for the Falcons.
Well, as we've said so often, every time we talked about picking against the spread, all year, they cover. They always cover, right?
And
Patriots.
It's not. And usually they cover by a lot. They don't even. It's not even close.
I do think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I don't have a rooting interest for either team. But I'm rooting for the Patriots for one reason, which is the same reason why a lot of people might be, which is I just want to see Goodell hand the trophy to Brady and Kraft.
Yeah, you're right.
I just want to see him hand the trophy, and I want to see if they're going to say something, if Kraft is going to say something, if there's going to be a look exchange. It's like, let me tell you, when if the Patriots win, that trophy exchange is going to be like high drama. So
yeah, and you're going to see it replayed over and over and over again.
Yeah, chances are nothing's going to happen. They're just going to accept it. Like, I don't know if you remember, when the Raiders moved to Los Angeles and Al Davis was the owner of the Raiders and they won the Super Bowl and Pete Rozelle had to hand them the trophy. I mean, they were bitter enemies. They were going to court. They hated each other. And everyone thought Al Davis was going to say something, and he just took the trophy and smiled, and that was it. So it might end up being the same thing.
That game was against the Eagles, I think.
Yes, there was that game against the Eagles, but then there was also the game against the Redskins, the game where Marcus Allen had that huge run. They could have been that one. Not sure.
Okay.
Did you see anything about the press conference, like Roger Goodell's press conference?
I did, actually. So first of all, this year, they did the State of the League on Wednesday. They normally do it on Friday.
Yeah, because he's a chicken.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's the reason. That's what a lot of people are speculating. And I mean, obviously, Goodell wants the talk during the weekend to be about the game and not about him, which I actually agree with. Like, I don't want to hear about him. I don't want to hear about Deflategate. It's so long ago already. Just leave me alone. I just want to hear about the game. Yeah. So I don't mind that they moved it to Wednesday. They also did another thing that they don't normally do. They did Media Day on Monday night instead of Tuesday during the day, and it was actually broadcast live on television, which I was surprised to see.
Right. I mean, the New England press, like I mentioned to Neil just before, they dominated that press conference. They were grilling him with questions about the Deflategate and really not holding back. And he kind of just brushed off all the questions about Deflategate, and he just said, he didn't answer anything, as he always does. And no one asked him any questions about concussions. We're talking about the state of the league. Like, you'd figure there'd be a question about concussions this year versus last year. What's the league doing? I mean, it's like, I was shocked at that. And, the way he just brushes off questions and doesn't answer anything, it just makes me nauseous, honestly. I always think, every time I hear Goodell speak, I always think about Bill Simmons, because Bill Simmons got suspended from ESPN, which eventually led to his firing, because he called Goodell a liar. He said, Goodell's a liar and I don't care what happens to me. And then he got suspended, and then a year later he got fired. And every time I hear a Goodell talk, all I hear is he's a big liar. I think he's a liar. No one's going to fire me. This is our show. So I'm going to tell you Goodell's a liar. It's funny because Neil mentioned that he thinks LeGarrette Blount's going to figure in the game, and he's going to be a big factor. And I was thinking about, all week I've been watching NFL Network all week. And they're analyzing every detail of the game and what's going to happen and who's going to be and the matchups, this lineman versus that lineman, and how they're going to stop Julio Jones and everything. And, Neil, I couldn't believe how knowledgeable he is. First of all, I can't even, he raised the level of the show by 1,000% in terms of sports knowledge. He said LeGarrette Blount's going to figure huge, but does anybody know actually if LeGarrette Blount is going to, like, Bill Belichick changes his game plan from week to week so drastically. LeGarrette Blount could carry 30 times. He could carry 0 times.
You're
like,
right.
no one knows what's going to happen. So when all these experts are trying to break down all the X's and O's of, what's going to happen in the game, they don't know what the Patriots are going to do.
You're right. Like there was, I think, the Patriots' first playoff game, LeGarrette Blount was non-existent, and Dion Lewis had all the carries.
Right.
So that could happen again today. Or I mean, there could be one game plan for the first half of the game, a whole other game plan for the second half of the game. You never know.
And Floyd wasn't dressed against Pittsburgh.
I didn't. Was he dressed for any game at all?
I'm not sure. He wasn't dressed against Pittsburgh. I don't know if he's going to play in the Super Bowl, but it wouldn't surprise me if he is dressed and they throw to him 10 times. But if Belichick sees a weakness, that's what he's going to go after. So if he thinks he can power run, then it's going to be Blount. If he thinks it's going to be throws out of the back, like throws to the backs and short passes, it's going to be Lewis. We're going to see. We'll find out on Sunday, I guess.
One other thing, going back to what you said about the State of the League press conference with Goodell and all the New England media sort of peppering him with questions.
Yeah.
The reporter who started that whole thing was Dan Shaughnessy.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about Dan Shaughnessy, he doesn't shy away from controversy. I don't live
like him
in Boston. I don't read Boston newspapers or Boston columns, but I've heard Dan Shaughnessy's name many, many times over the years. And it seems to me like he has some sort of personal vendetta against Roger Goodell.
Well, it's not just Goodell. When Shaughnessy gets something in his brain, when he has an agenda, that's what he's going to go after. Like how often have you heard like the Boston media ran so and so out of town? Terry Francona, for example. Or there's a million examples of Boston players getting run out of town by the media, and Shaughnessy is often right at the leading that witch hunt.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't mind him asking a question about Deflategate or whatever, but the tone that he asked, I actually heard him asking the question. It almost as if he works for the Patriots and not for a newspaper, and that really bothered me actually. So, like this guy, I think wants to make himself the star of the show, it seems.
Yeah.
Which that's not his role.
No, it's not. But Goodell still didn't answer anything.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
He handled the question very well, but it bothered me the way he asked that question.
Right.
Hi there, Skip and Josh will be right back. To get in touch with them, you can send them an email to skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. You can follow them on Twitter @skipandjosh, and you can visit their website at www.skipandjosh.com. And now, back to the show.
I know that I'd mentioned this on previous episodes, how in Canada we're going to get to see.
Oh, I wanted to talk about this so badly.
And so we weren't sure when I mentioned it, but then I did some research. And in fact, we are going to get to see the American commercials if you watch on Fox.
Yes.
If you want to see the Canadian commercials, you can watch on CTV. And what CTV is doing this year.
Oh, you read my mind.
In order to entice you to watch it on CTV, is they have all these contests going on where they're giving away like $300,000. But of course, you have to watch it on CTV because they're going to be asking questions during the game that you have to respond to. I don't know if on Twitter or somehow you have to respond live at the moment.
Yeah.
And then you'll be eligible to win these prizes, which is quite clever on CTV's part.
But I find I've only seen the commercials for this in the last 2 days. So I feel like this whole contest has come together at the last second.
It might have, because what was happening is Bell Media.
They were petitioning to
they were trying to get the CRTC to overturn their original ruling of allowing these commercials to air.
Yeah.
And they were not successful. So the American commercials are going to air on Fox, and so they may have just came up with this contest, who knows, a week ago or something like that.
Yeah. It's really interesting. You sent me an article about how Marco Rubio doesn't want Canada to see the commercials.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand, obviously Bell Media and CTV, they've paid a lot of money for the rights to the game, and they were planning on selling quite a lot of ads to the game, and I'm sure they've sold some, but maybe not as much as they normally would, because some sponsors fear that fans are going to watch on the American channel. So I get why Bell Media and CTV are upset about this ruling, but I was surprised that actually Marco Rubio and the NFL in the United States.
Yeah, what does the NFL care?
Well, because I guess they're worried that if this trend continues, if this rule exists ongoing, then Bell Media won't want to buy the rights to the Super Bowl anymore. And they pay quite a lot of money to the NFL to buy the rights.
Right.
And so the NFL wants to be able to sell those rights to, to Canada and other countries.
Right.
So if American channels are allowed to show their own commercials, then when this current deal runs out, I think in 2019 or something, with Bell Media, they might say, okay, well, we don't want to buy the rights anymore.
Right. The whole thing's really interesting, right? Because the whole reason why we're getting the real commercials this year is because people actually wrote letters to the CRTC or emails saying, we want the American commercials. So I guess they felt they had some kind of overwhelming, will of the people that they said, you know what, we're making an exception, and during the Super Bowl they're allowed to show the American commercials. It's pretty amazing. Shows that, like, if people want it, if you ask for it, sometimes you get what you ask for.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. That's exactly how it happened, and I'm surprised that actually worked.
Me too.
How many times do you send an email or you send a letter to this company or that organization and nothing ever happens? And the CRTC is not an organization that has been known to be flexible or change their rules in midstream. So now, granted, this isn't something that just happened a week ago. This has been discussed for 2 years, I think.
Right.
So it didn't just happen overnight. But still, I am surprised that it happened. And we'll see how it goes. It might just be a 1-year thing. They might go back to the old way next year.
Yeah.
So.
Bell Media wasn't happy because I read an article they're saying, like, the CRTC didn't say how many letters and emails and phone calls they received about this. So Bell Media is saying, we're going to lose millions of dollars because 12 people wrote a letter to the CRTC.
That could be. It might only be 12. You
right?
Never know.
So anyways, look, I don't care how much money Bell Media makes. They make so much money, like, it doesn't matter to me. But, I mean, I want to see those commercials, so I'm happy.
Yeah, there you go. Now you get to see him.
Cool.
Check out the Skip and Josh Sports Show on Twitter. You know that little app with the little blue Tweety bird? Yeah, you can follow them there at Skip and Josh.
So, Skip, I have good news and good news and good news for you.
This is great.
So the first bit of good news is that today marks the return of Coach K to the Duke bench.
Oh, and we didn't completely tank when he was gone.
Yeah, we were 4-3 while he was away, which isn't great, but we have won our last 2, so it seems like things are starting to turn around. Today's game, by the way, this is the second bit of good news. We're playing against Pitt today. They're not having such a great season, but the game is on CBS at 1:00. So if you want to watch, you can watch.
Huge day for sports today because the Habs are on the afternoon too.
I know. So it's amazing how often the Duke and the Canadians play at exactly the same time. I was looking at their schedules, and you would think with all these days in the week and all these days in the season that they could spread them out, but it seems like they always play at the same time. It's the weirdest thing.
It's funny.
My last bit of good news for you is that on Thursday, February 9th, Duke is playing UNC, and that game is on TSN.
They always make a point of putting that game on.
Yes, they do.
So that'll be good. I'm glad Coach K's back. Duke didn't completely, they didn't do great without him, but I don't know if they would have done any different with him. The team is like, I've been telling you from the beginning of the year, the guys don't know their roles. There's too many guys. No one really knows, what their role in the team is. There's different lineups, and I don't know. I was telling you at the beginning, like, remember I told you a few weeks ago, you kind of know when it's like a championship kind of team. Mm-hmm. You get that feeling. I don't have that feeling.
No. And as for how they would have done, with Coach K if he had not left, there was one game that Duke lost against NC State a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
At the buzzer, pretty much.
Yeah.
I think it was a 2-point game or something. I think the outcome of that game probably would have been different if Coach K was there.
Right. Maybe.
Because I saw the highlights and Duke looked disorganized. They looked like they didn't know what they were doing on the floor. And I think with Coach K there, the calming presence, that might have made a difference.
Luke Kennard is on fire.
He is. I love Luke Kennard. He's great.
They really are lacking a true point guard, which I think is part of the problem. They need that floor general. Even like the guy who's totally underrated from the last national championship team is Quinn Cook, right? He was a senior, he was point guard, and he ran the floor and he settled everything down, and they don't have that presence. So like you said, in the last plays of games when it's a little bit frantic, they don't have like that calming presence on the court.
Right, and look, Selection Sunday is March 12th, which is just over a month away.
Yeah.
So they've got time to gel as a team and figure this stuff out. You know, it doesn't have to happen overnight.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, they kind of, how many teams are they going to take from the ACC?
Oh, at least 6, I think.
I know, but 6, I mean, if you could finish last in the ACC, which Duke still could.
No, they're not going to finish last in the ACC.
I guess, but, I don't have any faith in this team. They could lose to anybody. They could beat anybody. It's a crazy team.
By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this on a previous episode. You know how Selection Sunday's on March 12th. Well, CBS next Saturday, a week from today, is doing like a sort of a semi-unveil, not the entire field of 68 teams, but they're going to show you the top 16 teams a week from today at 12:30 on CBS.
Well, that's useless, though, because so much can change from now to then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just what the top 16 are at that moment.
Oh, it's
not
like
not what they're going to be in March.
Well, they're not exactly shocking the world. You can look up any poll and see the AP top 20, like
Of course. You can
Coach's
look at
poll or whatever.
Joe Lunardi, bracketology.
Yeah.
You know,
doing your research.
Yeah, Joe Lunardi's actually, he does this. He starts doing this day one of the season, and he's usually quite. It's amazing how accurate he is with his predictions. He's pretty good. But it's just a fun thing. I think they're doing this because how the NCAA football, they do this on a weekly basis. I think.
Yeah.
It's
the
starting
polls
with 8 weeks
change.
left in the season, so that's why CBS I think has decided to do this.
Did you watch the Kansas-Kentucky game this week?
I didn't get to watch. I mean, I was flipping back and forth, so I saw bits and pieces of the game, but I did see the highlights.
Right. I mean, Kansas they're both great teams.
The other good game this week was Kansas-Baylor.
Yeah. Well, Kansas, they prevailed. Like, they're very strong. Kansas has a couple of really big stars. Mason is unbelievable, right? And they have this other guy, Josh Jackson. Like they're tough. They're really tough to defend against.
The guy that used to be on Dawson's Creek?
Yeah, that guy. Pacey.
The Skip and Josh Sports Show is back.
So I wanted to talk about this trade that the Canadians made about a week ago.
Nesterov?
Yeah. I know, it's old news, but we haven't spoken about it. And when I saw the trade, I'm like, okay, I never heard of this guy. But the Canadians didn't give up much to get him, Jonathan Racine, and a 6th-round pick.
I never even heard of Jonathan Racine.
Right. And then in Nesterov's first game with the Canadians, he scores a goal. So right away, everyone's thinking, oh, this could be a steal trade.
Look, he seems like a decent player. He can skate. He's not the biggest guy. Is he better than the 6th defenseman that they've been using up till now? Yes. So good. Bergevin has a knack of finding these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he'll be fine. Do I think their defense is great? No, but he'll fit in.
I'm not worried about the defense, but if you can add a player that's actually going to play, Racine wasn't playing, didn't look like he was ever going to play on the Canadians. So if you can add a guy that's actually going to play in the NHL, then might as well add him.
But the result of that trade is that they sent Mark Barbiero down, and he got claimed on waivers. So they actually lost him, which I think they knew might happen. So.
Yeah, I don't think they were too surprised. And I mean, nothing against Mark Barbiero, but I mean, how important was he to the team? He was playing really only because there have been some injuries.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if he's that much better or worse than Nesterov.
I don't know. We'll see. I think Nesterov has
a little bit more upside, maybe.
Offensively, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And sticking with the Canadians, I did some research as well this week, and I wanted to point out some stats to you. These are not, I wouldn't call these analytics. Maybe they could be called analytics, but
you're gonna start giving me some like Corsi and
No, not that. Although someone did mention that to me the other day. So your favorite player, your buddy David Desharnais, is back in the lineup now.
Yeah, great.
And funny enough, I'm sure you were upset to see this, but he scored in his first game back.
Great for him.
So all this does, because you know that Michel Therrien likes Desharnais, and the fact that he scored, all this does, it just solidifies Therrien's decision to put him back in the lineup.
Yep.
So anyway, so I did some research, and interestingly enough, the Canadians have played roughly the same number of games with him in the lineup and without him in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good sample size. So without David Desharnais in the lineup, the Canadians are 13-12, which is a .520 winning percentage.
Right.
And with him in the lineup, they're 17-10, which is a .630 winning percentage.
Yeah, but that's nonsense. Because at the beginning of the year, the team was hot, and then now they're not. Like, it's all those wins were at the beginning of the year when they rattled off like 10 in a row.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it means anything. I just wanted to point out the numbers to you.
Yeah, I know.
We can revisit these numbers at the end of the season.
I wasn't that disappointed to see Desharnais come back. I know, like we said, it's addition by subtraction, but he's better than the junk that they were using. You know, he's better than some of the guys that they had to call up from Hamilton. They were really reaching into Hamilton, into Chris Terry's and Bobby Farnham, and like they were really reaching in I said Hamilton again. Oh my God. I want to apologize to the city of St. John's, Newfoundland, because I've been calling the Canadians farm team the Hamilton Bulldogs for 20 episodes, and I want to correct myself. I do know that their farm team is the St. John Sea Dogs.
Just say the farm team, then you'll be safe.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've been calling up guys from the AHL, and Desharnais is better than those guys. I mean, he's a veteran. He's been there. There's something to be said for experience. So it's just that it's what you said. It's the usage. Because as soon as he comes back, all of a sudden, Desharnais, you know what? He was on the power play last game. I'm like, do you really have to put him on the power play? Right? Do you really have to do that? So
maybe the second unit, fine, but I don't know about
it was the
first
second
one.
unit, but still, I still wouldn't even have him there.
Right. Now, you were saying about all those guys from the minors that were called up during these injuries. One guy who was called up, who I did like, was Nikita Sherbak.
No, he's not ready, though.
He might not be ready, but he did play well when he was up. So
on any other team, he could get called up and stay, not with Therrien, because he's too much of a liability in his own zone. So until you know how to play like all ends of the ice, you're not going to be in this coach's good books.
Right.
But you know, Sherbak wasn't exactly dominating in the AHL either. So, you know, give him another year, half a year. He's still a prospect. He's got, you know, he's a talent. So, you know, I think eventually he'll get his place, but it'll take time.
One thing that I noticed in the NHL news this week, and I hope this doesn't lead to what I'm going to say, but the Nashville Predators put Mike Ribeiro on waivers.
Yep.
I have no interest in Mike Ribeiro, but I was watching one of the French sports channels.
Of course they want to have him.
And so they're all excited about the Canadians potentially adding Mike Ribeiro to the team. I hope that doesn't happen.
It won't happen because Bergevin's too smart. Earlier in the year, Halak was available. And there was all a bunch of talk in the media and in the Montreal papers and radio that the Canadians could possibly get him. And I told you, I hope that Bergevin is smart enough to take kind of the temperature of his team and of the market and realize that that's not a good move. And this situation with Ribeiro is the same thing. I hope that he's smart enough, and I believe he is, to just look at Mike Ribeiro and say, no, thank you. I mean, what's the point, you know?
Yeah, he hasn't had a good season since he left Dallas. So
he's not the kind of player we need anyways, even when he was a good player. One
last thing I want to mention about the Canadians. My favorite player, Andrew Shaw, made another bonehead play on Thursday night.
Oh, yeah. They benched him.
So he took a penalty, led to a Flyers power play goal, and then his butt was stable to the bench the rest of the night. So
that's Therrien's way. You make him bad. He has to do it because he does it all the time with rookies and with other people. And you know, when a veteran makes a bonehead move, you know, you have to be accountable. So he's sending a message to the whole team. He's been doing it all year. He's got to stop. So they have to send him a message.
Doing it. I don't mind. I'm happy that Therrien benched him. I'd have him as a healthy scratch next game.
Well, that's a bit extreme, but yeah, maybe.
You're kidding me? Boy, are you bugging me, man? I'm gonna nail. Ooh, God. I'm getting bugged now. Whoa, man.
So I heard you have a huge what bugs me today.
Well, it's not huge, but it's recent. A couple of days ago in the States, it was National Signing Day for all these high school kids that are deciding what college they're going to go to play football.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
And I mean, ESPN makes such a huge deal over this. You would think these are professionals. And so they've got cameras in every city in the States, and they're focused on the player. And sometimes, like, there was this one player who had like a Florida jersey on. He took it off. He had a Florida State jersey on. He took that one off, and he had a USC jersey on, and that was finally the team he was deciding to go to. Like, this reminds me of like when LeBron took his talents to South Beach. I mean, seriously, it's one thing for a professional to do it. These are high school kids. This shouldn't be televised. Like, you decide what school you want to go to. That's fine. I have no problem. Go to whatever school you want to go to. But I don't know why this needs to be televised. I don't know why it needs to be made such a huge deal. Send in a fax, tell them that's the school you're going to, and be done with it. It bothers me.
It's because we're in the age of like 5 TSNs, 5 Sportsnets. In the US, they have ESPN. I don't know how many channels they are. There's Fox Sportsnet now is in competition. So these networks, they want to televise whatever they can. Anything they think is going to get a rating, anything they can sell advertising, they're going to put on TV.
Right.
And, you don't want to watch, don't watch. But you're right. The kid who wears 6 jerseys or 3 hats, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to a Super Bowl party?
I'm actually, I don't know if it's really a Super Bowl party. I'm going to a friend's house, but I think I'm the only one there that follows football.
So it's just a gathering with the TV on?
It's basically, yes. It's more of a rules of roommates meeting.
Oh, the rules of roommates meeting. They're going to discuss about when episode 4 is going to come online.
No, we're rules of roommates was sold, as you know.
Right.
And so now we, the 4 of us who are in the show and helped, well, we wrote the show and created the show. We are going to sign an agreement of how, in case there are any future royalties, how we are going to divide them up between the 4 of us.
Wow, this is huge.
It's pretty huge, yeah.
So that's going to take like 5 minutes, I guess?
Well, Joe has already drafted it, and he's already decided how the funds are going to be divvied, and we just have to sign it if we agree with it, which,
so what you're having is a signing party.
Sure, yeah.
With the TV on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess Joe is probably more interested in the commercials, and he'll be happy that the commercials are on.
Yes, I'm sure he will. And I'm sure there'll be food, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
is it at Joe's?
Yeah, his new house, which I've never been to.
There's going to be all kinds of food. Joe's all about the food.
Yes, that's true. The food will be good, and I'm organizing the pool. Nice. I've got sheets printed out for everybody.
Very nice.
I think there's only going to be 5 people.
There's the 4 of you plus Carly?
Yeah, exactly. So what about you? Where are you going to watch?
We're going to a friend's house. One of Matthew's friends' parents, who we're friends with, and it should be a lot of people there. We were there last year as well, so it should be fun. Everyone brings food. There's tons of food and good times. You can watch or not watch the game as much as you want, type of thing.
Yeah,
it's great. Super Bowl's become like just an excuse to have a party.
For sure. Why not?
And hopefully the game's good.
Hopefully it's close.
Yeah. All right. So great talking to you today, and we'll chat next week again.
Okay. Look forward to it.
All right.
The Skip and Josh Sports Show is over now. Don't worry, there'll be another episode soon.